What's up, Gacha Gang? Kawaii50 here with another FGO video. The Patreons have spoken, so the very first servant we've got to cover for the last Summer 3 banner is Queen Maeve. We're going to be going over the best allies, the best craft essences, and the best command codes for this Saber incarnation of who many consider FGO's best girl. Do not check me on that statement. I have no statistics. Go ahead and let me know your thoughts down in the comment section below. As always, we begin our look with Saber Maeve's stats. So she's got a quick Arts Buster deck along with an Arts Noble Phantasm. When it comes to her attack and HP, her HP is actually really impressive. It's kind of surprising. She's got 13,609 when you get her to her max. Very, very high. But when it comes to her attack, it paints an entirely different picture. Saber Maeve's attack is actually quite low at 8,017. Now, it's okay, she's going to be able to art sloop, you might be thinking. Well, unfortunately, that is not the case, and this actually exacerbates the problem of her low attack. Her NP per hit seems really good to start with at a 0.72%, but there's only 2 hits on her arts cards. And unfortunately, this means that her NP gain is actually quite low. You can make up for it in an arts chain with her Noble Phantasm, and you're gonna need arts chains in general to power up her Noble Phantasm in a reasonably timely fashion. Star Absorption, just generally okay, as most Saber Star Absorptions are. Maeve's 2 passive skills are unfortunately not that great either. The one of special mention to me, and the one I feel like is most of the kick in the face, is Riding Rank A, which increases her quick artifactness by 10%. I always hate seeing this on Servants people, and Saber Maeve is no different. Why do you give them an effectiveness boost on a card type they only have one of that also isn't their Noble Phantasm? Just seems like a waste of a slot, but that's just me. Now let's move on to those active skills. Maeve's first skill is easily her best. Wardrobe Change Swimsuit rank A+, increases her Noble Phantasm gauge by 10 to 20% every turn for 3 turns, resulting in a net 60% gain. It also grants her 5 to 10 critical stars every single turn for 3 turns. If you get that to rank 6 or 7, that's like equipping her with a Fragment of 2030 for 3 turns, so that's pretty nice. The main reason we want to level this up first is for that NP gauge gain every single turn to offset Maeve's naturally short, naturally small, naturally horrendous NP gain on her regular arts cards. Maeve's second skill is Eau de Toilette White Honey rank B. This has a 60% chance to inflict charm on all her enemies for 1 turn, and also decreases the arts resist of all enemies by 10 to 20% for 3 turns. Now, the arts resist on this is nice, I will definitely admit that, but only a 60% chance to inflict charm on all enemies. That's not super great. That's something I really wish was better. Honestly, I would have traded the charm effect for pretty much anything else. And evade and invincibility, I know the charm is super lore friendly, but when it comes to practicality, this skill just doesn't really have it. Definitely max this last. And Saber Maeve's final skill is Queen's Discipline C rank A. This increases the attack of all of her allies, including herself, by 10 to 20% for 3 turns. But this increases the critical strength of all allies except for Maeve by 20 to 30% for 3 turns. Really wish that critical strength buff affected the Queen as well. This is a buff she really could have used when it came to upping the damage that she doesn't really deal. She needs something to help with that low attack stat, and honestly, a critical strength boost might have just done it, but just affects your allies. Still max this second though, that attack boost is something that she really does need. Now, Maeve's Noble Phantasm is somewhat of an oddity, but it can be quite good if all of the conditions end up being right. One Shot My Love deals damage to a single enemy 900 to 1500%, so already pretty cool, but it also has a chance to inflict the Nice Shot debuff. Nice Shot is a stackable debuff that decreases defense by 10% per stack, and this has the potential to stack up to 5 times. The stacking chance is also affected by this Noble Phantasm's overcharge level, starting at a base of 60% and going all the way up to 100% at the maximum possible 500% overcharge. Now gang, I have seen this in action proc all 5 times, and it can be absolutely nasty and absolutely devastating on bosses. But there is a trick to using this Noble Phantasm correctly. I'm sure a lot of you would want to, front load it so it has the potential to reduce that defense and your following chain can deal extra damage. But I would actually recommend that you offload this Noble Phantasm at the very end of a Noble Phantasm chain, so you get that stackable overcharge from chaining Noble Phantasms and a higher chance of stacking debuffs of Nice Shot on your opponent. Remember, Nice Shot lasts 3 turns, so you've still got all those following turns to offload all of that damage with your other servants' attacks and your other servants' Noble Phantasms. So that is gonna be the best place to put it. Now, as far as Saber Maeve's allies go, I've got 3 freebie recommendations for you and 2 5-star recommendations. So let's get the freebies out of the way. We're going to start with Paracelsus Von Hohenheim. Hohenheim got a buff recently to his Philosopher's Stone ability that added an NP gain boost to it of 30 to 50%. Now, this lasts for 3 turns, is absolutely phenomenal, and helps make up for Saber Maeve's greatest weakness. On top of that, he also has the potential to buff her arts card effectiveness by 10 to 20%. Hohenheim basically gives Saber Maeve every single thing she could want, so he is an excellent pick. Another good pick is, of course, our resident Golem Master, Avicebron. I can never get it right, so just ignore me when it comes to pronouncing his name. But our Golem Master does have a NP gain boost attached to his Noble Phantasm Golem Keter Malkuth that increases the NP gain of all allies by 10 to 30% for 3 turns. And of course, our resident Golem Master has his very powerful Tranquil Fig skill, which will activate when he dies, that can, most importantly, grant allies invincibility 2 times over the course of 3 turns, but 3 times at skill level 10. This really helps Maeve by giving her that survivability bonus she so desperately lacks, so slap Gouda Gouda Poster Girl on him, let him die, and have him grant her that survivability. And finally, of course, NA is going to have to wait for this guy a little bit, but we do have Asclepius, who brings an astonishing amount of stuff to the table. To start off with, Asclepius' Noble Phantasm gives all allies HP regen, debuff, immunity, and guts. Asclepius has his 3rd skill, Messenger of the Snake, which grants all allies 10 to 20% NP gauge and also removes all their debuffs. He has Apollo's Sun, which has a high chance to inflict NP seal on one enemy and also increases the NP gain of all allies by 20 to 30%. And he's got an Enkidu tier heal on top of that. Asclepius is a phenomenal support, and he will work quite well with Saber Maeve. Breaking into our 5 stars, we do have our no-brainer in the form of Tamamo no Mai. Tamamo's Fox's Wedding rank EX will heal Maeve by 1000 to 2500 HP, and will grant her that 30 to 50% arts card effectiveness boost she needs for 3 turns. Her Noble Phantasm, on top of that, after it has been fully upgraded, will increase Maeve's Noble Phantasm gauge by 25 to 50% depending on the level of overcharge. It also will reduce the ally's skill cooldown, so you can cool down Maeve's Noble Phantasm gain per turn ability faster and get yet another chance to activate it. And of course, I've got to mention her because she is making huge waves over on JP, Artoria Pendragon Caster, who deserves a video all of her own. But when it comes to your arch servants, when it comes to a lot of servants actually, she can basically grant them anything they want, from NP gain to an NP gauge increase. She can increase the attack of all allies, she can increase arts card effectiveness, she can give allies invincibility, she can make it so ignore invincible from enemies does not work, give them a massive defense boost on top of an attack boost, she can clear debuffs. She's just absurd. She is just absolutely absurd, and of course Queen Maeve would love to have such an absurd servant by her side. As for our craft essences, I really just want to mention 2 freebie options because they are actually the best options to give Saber Maeve, and those options are Dive to Blue as well as Painting Summer. I personally recommend Painting Summer over Dive to Blue. They're both pretty similar, they both provide an arts card effectiveness boost, they both provide a starting NP gauge, but Painting Summer provides an NP gain boost, whereas Dive to Blue provides an NP strength boost. Now, if you were confident in the support Queen Maeve can get, you can give her Dive to Blue over Painting Summer, but I find that Painting Summer is more often than not more consistent. And finally, I do have 3 command codes to mention for you as well to give to Saber Maeve. We'll start with the 5 stars. If you really like her, you can give her Magus of Flowers. Once every 3 turns, this will charge her NP gauge by 10% when attacking using that engraved card. A really good way to buff up that mediocre NP gain. But as for other cards, she actually has a decent base star weight, so I highly recommend Star Absorption. Giving her that Star Absorption on her arts and quick cards are not only going to help with her low attack stat, but it's also going to help with her NP gain, because as we all know, quick cards that crit and arts cards that crit end up refunding more of that noble Phantasm gauge. So great freebie option. Code FOCUS, you can get it from the Friend Point Gacha. Increases Star Absorption by 25% of the engraved card. As long as you're not running Saber Maeve with archers and riders, she will be fine. The best one for arts cards, though, is a command code called Immature Illusionary Command Seal. This can only be engraved on arts cards, and it also increases the star absorption of those arts cards by 100%. You will know exactly where your stars are going when you properly kit Saber Maeve out with these command codes. Overall, my final verdict is that Saber Maeve is a serviceable servant, but she does require a lot of work and a lot of knowledge of her weaknesses in order to achieve that. You've really got to focus on upping that NP gain, as well as upping that potential to crit to make up for her very mediocre attack stat. Saber Maeve will never be a Lancelot. Lancelot is too lofty a goal to try and reach, and it's just not in the cards for her. But you can still focus around her. If you really like her, if you really want to use her, this video has told you the ways where you can make her a serviceable, good part of your Chaldea team. She's not entirely lost, people. She just needs a bit of work. And that does it for my breakdown of Saber Maeve. Go ahead and let me know down in the comments how you personally feel about Summer Maeve. Let me know if you summoned for her, how many copies you got. Let me know what other summer servants you might have summoned for yourself. I always like to hear what you guys are pulling. Let me know if there are any other craft essences, command codes, or allies you would like to use with this character as well. It's only through collaboration that we can truly play the game to the best of our abilities. I hope you're all having a phenomenal day. If you like what I'm doing here, come chat to me on the Discord or check me out on Patreon. And I'll see y'all in the next one.